Your thoughts create vibrations that affect both your inner and outer worlds. You can select your thoughts just the same way you select your clothes every day or the music you listen to. Therefore, you create the reality in which you are going to live. Think wisely, seek high vibrations. Okay, Spirit's like, that's pretty self explanatory. Yeah, I did a video on this about the power of choice. Uh, really, like, no matter what's going on in life, and this can seem so elusive when we're in a limited mind state. I mean, I've certainly been there, I'm speaking from personal experience. But what's really amazing is if you actually think about it, no matter what circumstance somebody's in, and there's like a whole, there's a plethora of things that can happen, positive or negative, but really we have a choice in our attitude. Like, at the very least, I've been in situations where I couldn't change the external reality. I was just in it. When you're in it, that's what you got. But I could change the way that I looked at the situation. I definitely could keep myself calm. I could definitely like not go into other quantum realities or like worst case scenarios and things like that. So the power of thought is everything. With pure positive thought, it's amazing the states of mind we can enter and the kind of energy we can generate within ourselves. That's not even going into like how that actualizes and manifests in our life, but just in terms of feeling better. And then likewise, the same thing can happen if we keep ourselves in a limited mindset and we choose not to, at least at the very least, let things go, for example. Sometimes it's not even about getting positive about a situation. It's just not, it's a choice not to go into it, not to feed into it. I was actually just reading, I'm a really big fan of the Seth Material. Seth, I would consider one of my main mentors. He was channeled by Jane Roberts. Jane and Seth and Rob kicked off the kind of the new age channeling revolution. Of course, we had the Theosophists and all those guys, but later in the 60s, this really kind of kicked off the whole new wave. Anyway, so Seth was saying this morning, he was like, it seems Pollyanna-ish, but actually that is the way reality works here. It's the opposite of everything that most humans learn when we're younger, but your thoughts they literally create quantum bridges to realities. And if you keep your momentum up in a particular direction, you will manifest, you will actualize a reality that gives you the evidence of whatever you have been focusing on. So this is kind of an interesting, this is interesting what Spirit's bringing in now, because we often hear not to have expectations, don't have insistence on the outcome. Spirit's asking me to clarify this right now. So we want to have great expectation. We don't want to have limiting beliefs or glass ceilings. We want to expect the best. We just don't want to be insistent on the moment-to-moment outcome. And now they're giving me the example of like a game in sports or something like that. When an athlete goes into a game, they expect to win. They do expect to win. They don't expect to win every single goal or to dominate every single volley or every single pass or whatever it is for whatever the game is, but they expect to win overall. And that's kind of how it is in life. You expect the greatest results overall, maybe not specifically down to the form or how or when it's going to happen, but you have this general trajectory that it's going to work out. And just don't be insistent. That's what they're saying right now. They're like, that is the sweet spot. If souls here can master that, if we can master that, we win. We win in life. You don't want to be insistent on the outcome. You want to follow your joy, because that's just like an easy way to keep your vibe high. Then you've got a high state of being, and then you have a general expectation that everything is really working out for you. And that's the bridge. Those are the quantum bridges you're going to be building, and that is actually how things are going to work out for you. So they're saying it's not about being a Pollyanna. A pile of ish is a pile of ish. But you always walk away with a broader perspective where you're winning, and that is to see through the eyes of Spirit. So we are really creating with our thoughts. Okay, Spirit, anything else you want to say about that? I think that's it. Okay, and I'm being guided to pull a card from the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck, so we'll just see what's in here. Spirit, can you get a message for this collective? Oh. Okay. Beautiful. I got this card earlier today in another reading. Guardian Angel, you are not alone. Okay. And maybe they're tagging this on right now because, you know, what we just talked about is like you're creating your reality. But here's the thing, you're not alone. Like, we're super supported here. I was actually having this kind of experience yesterday. It was a little Truman Show kind of experience where it was like my higher self was just kind of like peering into the dollhouse that is my reality right now, right? Like, I live in this house and whatever, and I was sitting there and I just felt like the whole room was like looking at me, you know, like my higher self was like, hello, I'm here, like fully present. And the idea is that you are not alone. So even if life does get kind of rough, this is what I'm being drawn to right now. Even if life gets kind of rough, and let's say at that time it is really difficult for you to choose an attitude, you know, when the emotions are moving through you, you kind of just got to learn to sit with it and let it move through you. And then once the energy moves through, then you can start selecting in a way that is a little bit more beneficial. But first we got to like allow our shadow to like move through, feel it, acknowledge it. And Spirit's saying like during this whole process, we're not alone. So even if we do go into like, you know, we go into a downward spiral, let's say, we're not alone. It's okay. It's not like that momentum is going to keep building. It's just if we don't put it down. That's like an expression in China. I love Chinese martial arts dramas. And here we say let it go. Over there they have this expression. They're like put it down and don't pick it back up. So that's what Spirit's saying. They're like, look, you're not alone. We got you. If you can't handle it, hand it over to us. Okay? We'll do all the heavy lifting. We just want you to do your best and use what you have. So if all you have is your attitude, okay? If all you have is your choice internally, they're saying use it to the best of your ability, use it. And then whatever you can't handle, just hand it over to Spirit and they will take care of the heavy lifting. And I'm being inspired to share a beautiful story. I actually shared this in another video, but I haven't posted it yet, and I'm not sure if I'm going to post it. So I'll share it here. Years ago, I had woken up and I had this hip pain, like a hip pain in my left hip. Okay, I'd never had this before. And because I'm a hypnotherapist and, you know, I've worked with tons of clients with all sorts of things, and I'm familiar with the connection between the energy, like our energy, our kind of the aura we're in, our internal environment, and its effect on our physical body. I kind of had a really good idea that what this hip pain was coming from. It was arising because I had this conflict going on in my mind for about a week. Kind of in the back of my mind, I wasn't paying too much attention to it, but it was basically like my inner child was like, I don't want to do this marketing. And then there was a part of me that was like, we're going to do this marketing. And my inner child was like, it's not going to move the needle. It's stupid and I don't want to do it. And this other part of me was like, we should do it. That's like really responsible. Like, we should do it. You know, I was shoulding myself. And of course, my inner child was winning out. And so then I had this kind of push-pull going on within myself. And in hypnotherapeutic circles, or even like Louise Hay's kind of like that kind of ideology or philosophy, I don't know what you want to call that way of thinking, the conflict in the body is actually what is creating the distortions in the physiology. So I kind of knew that that's what it was. Anyway, so I tried the emotion code and I cleared it using a magnet and just like my intention. Emotion code's really powerful. Of course, I believe in it as a permission slip, so it's particularly works for me. And it did clear the hip pain for like 2 to 3 days. But then it came back because the root cause, the source of this kind of conflict or distortion in my energy was caused by my thoughts and what I was focusing on. So I didn't get rid of that. So it quickly came back. Then I did some tapping on it, emotional freedom technique. Some of you guys have heard of that, and you use that. It's kind of like a little auto-hypnosis on the body, combined with some acupressure, tapping some points. And sure enough, it went away for 2 to 3 days, but it came back because, again, I didn't get rid of the root source that was causing this kind of energetic blockage in my system. So about a week later, it was pretty bad. Like, I was like kind of hobbling around. It was like arthritic. I'd never had arthritis before, but this was like an arthritic hip pain. So that night I went to bed. I did what's called a dream incubation. And for those of you who know, you know, but if you don't, A dream incubation, you basically make a request to spirit or your subconscious mind, whatever you want to say. And I essentially said something like this: I request a therapeutic dream that gives me clarity, guidance, and healing on my hip. And I said, Spirit, I'm pretty sure that it has to do with this conflict, but I can't put this down. Okay, like, please help me to put this down, and any guidance you have is wonderful, and I request a healing on my hip. And then very quickly, I imagined myself surfing, because that implies and I did it first person. I imagined myself feeling the water and just my movements and the sunshine and all the things. It was just maybe a short scene for like 5 seconds, 7 seconds. And then that implies that my hip was healed, if I didn't mention that already. So that's how you do dream incubation. You don't even have to do the second part. You can just ask. And if you go into non-resistance, very often, the answer will come through, the healing will come through. It's very much like a little mini auto hypnosis session. So that night I went to sleep, and I had one of the most potent, powerful dreams of my life so far. This is called a true dream or a clarity dream amongst dream worker circles. And in the dream, I got back from a tropical country, and I opened my suitcase in my room, and a bird flew out, like an exotic bird. And it shrunk down to like the size of a dove. It was like banging around everywhere. It was hitting the fans, hitting the door, hitting the walls. And I was like, look, bird, calm down. I got you. I know the way out. And I was like, hey, little bird, I got you. Calm down. I know the way out. I must have said it like dozens of times to this bird. And finally the bird acquiesced, and the little dove or whatever it was like shrunk down, and it nestled on the wall, and I gently took it and I let it outside. And when I let it outside, it expanded into this like majestic mythological phoenix, like this super exotic bird, like kind of out of Chinese mythology. Phoenixes and these kinds of things are really like talked about a lot. Like I said, I'm in really these Chinese martial arts shows. Anyway, so it like expanded in this insane, beautiful bird, and it was so majestic, and it flew off into the sunset. And it probably had something like a 15-20 foot wingspan. I don't know. It was just giant. And I just start bawling. I start bawling because I'm so moved by the majesty of this creature. And just, it was so stunning. And I wake up to record my dream, which I've been doing for years, and I really recommend it. It's absolutely amazing. You can always go back and listen to them. And while I'm recording the dream, I'm deep inside the dream. I'm like really in my subconscious mind. I'm very much like in this like other dimension while I'm recording, and I'm like sobbing in the recording and everything. I still have it. And I get this like download, Spirit's like, do you understand now? You're the beautiful bird, and you're not from here. You're the exotic bird, and you didn't come here to do human-ish. You came here to be the beautiful exotic bird that you are. So do you, and we will take care of all that stuff. We will take care of all the heavy lifting. We know the way. We know how to get there. Don't worry about it. You just do your bird-like stuff. And then they were like, as an aside, okay, then they gave me another thing. They were like, we're not going to speak goo goo gaga with you, okay? You need to remember your native language of spirit. And that was because I had been bitching and complaining that week, or like in the weeks prior, about how cryptic I felt like spirit was being with me. And I was like, why don't you guys just speak to me in English? Because when I was younger, when I was a kid and I needed help, they would just literally speak into my head and like tell me what to do. And that was their response. They were like, look, it's time for you to remember your native language of spirit, which is just translating vibration and intuitive hits. It can be through clairvoyance, it could be through clairaudience, it can be through claircognizance or clairsentience, but they were basically cajoling me and saying, look, you're like that bird. We're not going to start speaking bird to you. It's time for the bird to remember the native language. Anyway, so that was an aside. But the point of this was this card that I had here, which I've lost now. Guardian angel, you are not alone. Okay. The point of this, and look at that, there's a feather. There's a feather on the card, of course, like feathers and angels. And also like the back of these cards, it's like an owl and a bird, okay? And I like how he's like above, right? So it's like spirit is above, they're watching, they got you, and you're here to do you. You're here to be the authentic version of you. Stay present. Stay present. Remember, your power is in choosing your thoughts and your attitude. Stay present, and the rest, hand it over to spirit. You know, all the overwhelm, all this boring stuff, all the stuff that you don't feel like doing, they will inspire you in perfect timing. I also need to mention this. At the end of that dream, right, I woke up, I didn't have any hip pain. And about 2 weeks later, or within 2 weeks, I ended up waking up at an absurdly early time in the morning. Sometimes I used to get up for meditation and stuff at like 3, 4 in the morning. But I woke up, maybe I did some meditation, I don't really remember. But I ended up on my computer, which was like kind of unusual for me to be doing that early in the morning. And I just had like a jam-packed marathon session, and I got all that marketing that I had been like shooting myself for. I got it done in like record time, and I was done by the afternoon. And I was inspired to do it. It was like effortless. I kind of remember I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten. I got it all done. And Spirit was like, that's our point. We got you. You don't need to worry about it. We'll inspire you in perfect timing. You just hand it over to us. We know exactly what you need to do. We know exactly what you need to do. We know exactly when you need to do it. All right? If you stay in that receptive, abundant, you know, positive expectation, but not being sticky about the details kind of state, Spirit can really, really help us out and work with that kind of energy. So, but that is up to us. That's our choice, and that's where we can use the power of our thoughts. So, Spirit, is there anything else you want to add? They're like, we are complete. Okay, so that's the message for today. If you enjoyed this message, please share your beautiful energy, like, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you're interested in coaching, Akashic record readings, or visionary art, I have those links in the description box below. And thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you all in the next message.